On this episode of Sloan's Wilderness Expeditions, we find ourselves back in the beautiful Florida Keys. This time, we're checking out an area of historic proportions, examining the very rock these islands are built upon and the ancient fossils hidden within. Come along as we explore Windley Key Fossil Reef Geological State Park. Hey fellow expeditionists, we are currently on a South Florida expedition. Today we're in the Florida Keys. We are at the Windley Key Fossil Reef Geologic Park. Windley Key Fossil Reef Geological State Park is located in the upper Florida Keys, right off of the Overseas Highway in the community of Islamorada. We've driven by this state park several times over the years, and I've always been curious about it, since I'm a lover of old fossils. I had heard rave reviews about this place from a friend that lives in Key West, so I finally made it a point to visit. We visited a lot of limestone quarries back in Indiana. Always neat to see, and occasionally you see some small fossils in there. But this is a whole different kind of limestone, all made from, old ancient coral that's probably over 100,000 years old. So, well, we're going to check out, I believe, 3 different quarries here in Windley Key. What my hope is to find a lot of those old coral fossils. We're currently heading towards the Flagler Quarry for our first stop in this cool place. Once again, I would not want to be the first one walking through, taking out the spider webs in the morning. And I got some big guys out here. I guess the south side of the quarry is considered the quarry station trail. So we're going to hit that first before we go and see the wall of the quarry. So this is where the old railroad work was done, quarrying for all the foundations and all the gravel that was needed for fill while they were building the original railroad back in the early 1900s. And here we've got the foundation for where the water tanks would have stood. Workers came down here by the thousands expecting good pay and amazing tropical working conditions, and found themselves in very wet working conditions, very hot and very buggy working conditions. So it may not have been all that it was cracked up to be. So here we got our first real look at some of the fossilized coral at the back here of the station. We're now at the main wall of the Flagler Quarry, so we're just going to walk along here and see what we see. You can see all the drill marks through it that they use to crack this stuff open. And of course, all of the evidence of the old ancient coral. These quarries were dug in the early 1900s and were used to build Henry Flagler's Overseas Railroad. Even after the railroad, the limestone continued to be quarried here all the way into the 1960s, producing a decorative stone called keystone. So utilizing the rock drills of the era, they were able to get some pretty clean cuts on these and take stone blocks, because a lot of this here was used for decorative limestone for buildings and post offices and just, lots of different uses. Pretty much every inch of these walls is fossils, so there's no way I can share everything. Trust me to say, if you ever find yourself in the Florida Keys and you got a little bit of time to come explore, this is kind of worth it. We're back on the hammock trail. Next in line should be the Russell Quarry. We're actually in the Russell Quarry right now, but they don't appear to have a trail that goes along the walls of it, so I guess it's probably more of the same, huh? There's about 1.2 miles of trail here at Windley Key, connecting each of the quarries, so we enjoyed the subtropic forest while dodging giant spider webs. You see that big guy right there? Yeah. So this here is another one of those gumbo limbo trees. Now locally it is got a nickname called the tourist tree. And the reason is because it's got the red bark that flakes off, kind of like a tourist gets a sunburn, and then of course skin flakes off. Let's hope we don't get to that point. We just came off of the hammock trail and we're now on the Windley trail, which is going to lead us down to the main quarry here. So here is the main Windley quarry. We're inside right now. And over here they have some of the old industrial machinery that was used when quarrying. So let's check that out. It says turning coral into limestone, the cutting cart and the bridge saw. Yeah, that was some serious machinery for back in the day. I bet the Egyptians would have loved to have some kind of stone cutting tools like that when they were building the pyramids. So we're literally walking on the fossils. I mean, you can't help it when you're in the Keys. You're going to be walking on fossilized coral one way or another. Here we have the engine of the hoist that would have been used to lift slabs up to the top of the quarry, weighing up to 10 tons. So we've seen some of the equipment that was used for the cutting of these slabs of the limestone. Now we're going to explore the walls, see how many more fossils we find. This is an example of some of the, I believe, the brain coral. Here you can see one of the drill holes when trying to separate slabs. And you can see how it just completely separated that huge coral fossil. You see a lot of the coral structures right here. Of course, we're from Indiana, and while there are a lot of coral type fossils, brachiopods and such to be found in the rock there, probably the closest thing to this kind of fossils you'll find up there is actually on the Ohio River at a state park called Falls of the Ohio. When the river is low, they've got all these fossil beds from these old coral there that can be seen. It's really fascinating. If you ever get a chance to go there, it's worth it. That is a serious fossil right there. It's almost mind-boggling to think of the millions of organisms that it took to fossilize and turn into this kind of limestone. That's a lot of time and life. Alright, so that's our exploration today of the Windley Key Fossilized Reef Geologic State Park. Really cool stuff, and I want to personally thank my friend and the Key West Chief of Police, Sean Brandenburg, for recommending this place. Really awesome. Caden, got any thoughts?
Yeah, really like the coral deposits here. Definitely some very neat patterns. Also, seeing a lot of curly-tailed lizards as well as some giant spiders.
Yeah, those spiders are something else. Alright, well, we are on to our next adventure. Until then, peace out.